Hello all, let's start section 2.1 and 2.2 together. Of course, the actual lecture is in 2.2, but it covers 2.1 and 2.2. And 2.1, and actually in chapter 2, right? In chapter 2, when you start chapter 1, and what's the difference in chapter 2? In chapter 1, we learn how to what happened? We learn how to collect data, correct? In chapter 2, we are moving slowly from collecting to organizing, organize, or summarizing the data, correct? This is the difference. Chapter 1, we learn how to collect data, different ways of the data. First, we learn what is a data. Then we learn how to collect them, how to make a sample, correct? There were ways to collect data. Or here in chapter 2, slowly, we start dealing with those data, how to organize our data or how to summarize our data. To do so, we start with frequency distribution. Then what is frequency distribution? Frequency distribution, correct? What is that? What does it mean? Frequency distribution is a list of values, is a list of values with corresponding frequencies, with corresponding frequencies. We call that what? Frequency distribution. In a very simple example, very simple example, of course we will do an example more in a scientific way, but to explain that in a very simple example, for example, I will ask you, find out that in your class how many people or how many students they have black hair, how many of them has brown hair, and how many of the students they are blonde, correct? Blonde hair. And you may answer me, oh, we have 15 black hair students, we have another like 12 brown hair, correct? And we have another 13 blonde in this class. Basically, this table here, we name this part classes. These are your values, correct? The values are black, brown, and blonde, which after this we name it classes. On this side, actually, it's your frequency. Frequency means in each class, how many of them we have. We count those, correct? How many of them? That shows the frequency. It's a really simple example, but of course, we will do it right now in a very kind of best way or scientific way, how to create a frequency distribution table, correct? But the idea comes, the general idea from here, that you divide a group to subgroups, which we call it classes, and you count the frequency, or as you see in a definition, it's a list of values. This is the list of your values, correct? These are your values. It's a list of values, and this is the corresponding frequency, correct? We call it a frequency distribution table. To start with, the best way to approach or to make a frequency distribution table, we have to know few terms uh, that we will use. The first one is class width. Up. What does it mean? What is class width? Correct? The difference between two lower class limits. Between two lower class limits. The difference between two lower class limits, we call it class width. What does it mean? Let's talk about your class or any class. For example, I have 40 students in a class, and I want to talk and I want to make a frequency distribution on their ages. I want to see which ages are actually in my class, correct? I want to see the patterns. Uh, is this more kind of freshman in this class? More kind of students that they come back after a long time to my class? If I look at to the ages, I can understand that. Or maybe my boss asked me to do such a list or to do such a survey for him. Anyway, I have a class of 14 students. The youngest student in my class is between 17 years old, correct? And maybe the oldest person in my class is 46. Correct? Now, I want to find the class width based on these two numbers, which one of them is the largest number in my class and the other one is the smallest, correct? I want to find what my class width. But before that, I have to know what is lower class limit means, correct? Because of that, I underlined here, lower class limit. What is lower class limit? You see, I put all the definitions for you. When you deal with the charts, with the numbers, you shouldn't ask, oh, what was that? What is the lower class limit? What does it mean? You already have the definition. It's really easy. Your lower class limit, where the class starts. You can see where the class starts. Or you can say smallest value belonging to a class. The smallest value belonging to a class, we call it the lower class limit. Also, we have upper class limit. Of course, upper class limit means largest value belonging to a class. Correct? Now, when you know these two things, what is the lower class limit, what is the upper class limit, we slowly start to make a frequency distribution table. To do that, I'll give you steps. Please follow the steps. You will be okay. You can create that table if you follow these steps. Correct? What are the steps to create a frequency distribution table? Correct? Number one, step number one, determine the number of classes What does it mean? Determine the number of classes. Usually it will be given to you. If it's a test day, I will tell you make 5 class, make 6 class, make 10 class, correct? If you are doing your homework, they give you the number of classes, how many classes you should make. To explain it more, you see in this example that you are talking about the color of the hair of the students in your class. We made actually 3 classes, black, brown, and blonde. Correct? Then the number of the classes here, what? 3. Usually it will be given to you. Correct? Determine the number of classes, it will be given. Correct? For example, let's say 8 classes. I will do an example for you, or 6 classes, or 4 classes. It will be given to you. After you determine this, your step 2 is find the class width. And you already know the definition. What is class width? Find class width. A very simple formula how you can find the class width. You take your maximum value or the largest value. I call it here max value minus your min value divide by number of classes. This sign means number of classes. Correct? For example, I talked about the students in my class and their ages, right? And I said a person is the largest number is 46, age 46 in my class, correct? 46 minus the lowest, which is 17, correct? Divide by what? Divide by 8, which gives you 16 minus 7 gives you 9, and 3 minus 1 gives you 2, 29 over 8. As you see, 8 doesn't go perfectly to 29, correct? You have to use your calculator and find a decimal number for this, correct? When you find a decimal number, it gives you a decimal number here definitely. Count up to 3 decimal place, correct? Let me see if I can find my calculator here. I'll bring up my calculator here. 29 divide by 8, correct? It gives me 3 point, what was the number? 3.625. 3.625. It's a decimal number. Now, a small note here for you to follow. Class width has to be a whole number. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, or no decimal, correct? Always, that's the important part. Always round up. Here I have 3.625. I'll round it up to the next whole number, which is 4, correct? Why we are rounding up? Because we want to have enough classes to cover all the ages, to cover all of our data, correct? That's why we're rounding up, correct? This is the important part. You end up with decimal number, whatever the decimal number is, take the next whole number, round it up. If it's 2.6, round it up to 3. If it's 3 point something, round it up to 4. It's 7 point something, round it up to 8. Correct? That's your step 2. Step 3. In step 3, start with smallest the smallest value in your table. When you create a table, start with the smallest value. Step 4, create classes with class width. Now, I'll show you step 3 and 4 here, correct? Let's actually start with the table. I want to start a table, but I want to go a little bit down, create my table somewhere, or maybe here, it's okay. Then I move up and down. I want to create a frequency distribution table for my class of 40 students on their ages, correct? I will create a table like this. My classes are about the age, right? Here I'll put age. Here I will put, or I will write frequency. Now, I know the lowest or the youngest age in my class. Step 3 tells me start with that number, which was 17. Focus here, please, because this is the most important part. The others are really easy. The most important part that usually a lot of times students are doing mistake is when they create classes. They do always mistake in step 4. Then focus here. Focus here how I will create my classes, correct? They told us to create 8 classes, for example. In this example, I want to create 8 classes. How? Create classes with class width. I already found my class width. My class width was 4 based on the formula that I used, right? Now, when you want to go and create your second class, You add 4 actually on 17, not this way. Please do not go this way. It's wrong. Do not go this way. Okay, 17 plus 4 gives me 21. I will write here. No, it's wrong. Correct? It's wrong. Do not do that. Focus here. Add 4 and go this way. That gives you the smallest value in the second class. Let me explain this way. When you add 4 on the 17, it gives you 21. It gives you the next smallest value in the next class. Then again add 4, it gives you 25, the smallest number in the next class. Add 4, it gives you 29, next class. Add 4, it gives you 33. 33, not 23. 33, next class. Add 4, it gives you 37. How many classes I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 more. Add 4, it gives me 41. Correct? Add 4 again, it gives me 45. Here you go. I created 8 classes. At least I know what is the lowest number in each class. Correct? This is one of them. In this class I have 17. In this class I have 21. In this class I have 25. In this class I have 29. Correct? In this class I have 33. In this class I have 37. In this class I have 41. And finally 45, my last class. Now, how you proceed to find the largest value in your class? Again, focus please. How to find the largest value in your class? I'll use red color, a number that comes here. What will be the largest number in your class? Always one less than this number, whatever this number is. Whatever your second class smallest number is, one less than that. If it's 21, I will write here 22. Let me clear it and rewrite again because it's a lot of things there. This one will be 20. If it's 21, one less will be 20. Then my first class, it means my first class covers students that they are 17 years old up to 20 years old. And my second class, I will cover from 21 to what? To 24. One less than this. 25 minus 1 gives you what? 24. Always minus that one, correct? This class will be 29 minus 1, which gives you 28. Or other way, your class width was 4, right? When you find the first one, the first upper one, which is 20, because your class width, this is your class width, because your class width is 4, add 4 on this number, add 4 on this number, and it gives you all the upper classes. 24, 28, next one 32, correct? Next one 36. Next one will be 40, correct? If you add 4, next one will be 44, and next one of course will be what? 48. Correct? You see the highest value in my class, I said someone has an age 46, and now last class, which is 45 to 48, covers this number. Correct? This is how you create your table. This is how you create your table. It's the most important part of this topic, how to create classes. Filling frequencies, it's easy. If I'm inside the class, I will ask, for example, How many of you, raise your hand, how many of you are an age between 17 to 20? Maybe I'll count like 25 students. Between 21 to 24, maybe another 10. Correct? Between 25 to 28, maybe 1. Between 29 to 32, correct? Maybe 2. Between 33 to 36, maybe 0. 37 to 40, 0. 41 to 44, 0. 45 to 48, maybe what? Or maybe this one, let's put a number, not all of them 0. Maybe put here 1 and 1 here. Correct? This is what you count in each class. The students will raise their hand and you count. If I give you a data set, it will be all numbers there. You have to find those numbers, correct? You just count numbers out of the list and you fill the frequency. This is how you create a frequency distribution table, correct? Now, I'll do some more stuff, but before that, let's talk about a few more things. Class midpoint. What is class midpoint? A number between the upper class limit and lower class limit. For example, if you see your first class here between 17 and 20, there is a number in between these two, correct? We want to find that number. What is that number? To do that, the easy formula is upper class, or I will, okay, for this one I will write everything, upper class limit plus lower class limit. CL means class limit, please, divide by 2. You see, in school you learn when you find the average between two numbers, you add the numbers and you divide by 2. You want to find the average between 5 numbers, you add all 5 and you divide by 5. This is actually, here we are looking for the average, correct? Now, in my example, in our example, upper class limit was 46 plus lower class limit was 17. Divide by what? Divide by 2, which gives you 63 divided by 2, correct? And if you use your calculator and divide 63 by 2, which you can do it also without calculator, hopefully, 63 divided by 2, correct? It gives you 31. Oh, sorry, a huge mistake. This side upper class limit plus lower class limit divide by what? Divide by 2. I did a mistake here. Your upper class limit is 20, not 46. That's why, correct? Sorry. So why the number goes really up? And in first class, your upper class limit is 20, which gives you here 37, right? That's a small mistake. 37 divided by 2, correct? 37 divide by what? Divide by 2, which gives you 18.5. Correct? 18.5. Of course, between 20 and 17, the midpoint is 18.5. Correct? Now, if I want to make a list, if the first one is 18.5 in the first class, what will be the midpoint of the second class? You can go two ways. You can add 21 with 24, then divide by 2. Or, we are living in 21st century. I know my class width, which is 4. The easy way is to add this 4 on this, which gives me 22.5. To find the next one, it's 26.5. Correct? Because if the difference, if the class width is from 17 to 21 is 4, and also in upper class from 20 to 24, the difference is 4, then when you find the midpoint, the difference between the midpoints is also what? Always 4. Correct? That's how you find the midpoint of a class. Correct? Next important one is class boundaries. Correct? What is class boundary and why we find the class boundaries? Used to separate classes with no gaps. When you separate your classes, there shouldn't be a gap between them. I'll explain why. When you go and you try to draw your histogram, which is my next lecture, correct? They are kind of bar columns. You don't want to see that there is a gap between two bars. Between this bar and this bar, there is a gap. To fill that, to avoid that, we are looking always for what? For class boundaries. Correct? How to find the class boundaries? Look at in this table. Between 17 and two lower class limits of two classes, between 17 and 21, there is a number in between that I will call it boundary. Correct? To find that number, what you do, you find again the average. You add 17 plus 21 and you divide by 2, which gives you 38 divided by 2, which gives you 19. And usually it's really easy. Look, between 17 and 21, which number is in the middle? If you write like this, 17, 18, 19, and 21, between this number and this number, of course, it's what? 18. Did I add it correctly? The first one is 17 and the other one is 21. Yeah, which gives me 38. Divide by what? By 2. Correct? We need always class boundaries, and this is the way that you find your class boundaries. We learn how to create a frequency distribution table. Now, sometimes when you take such a data to your boss says like, oh, okay, 25 students in age 20, between 17 to 20, between 21 to 24, 10 students, between 25 to 28, 1 student. I don't understand this. Can you give me these numbers in percentage? Correct? Because your boss is good. Most of the people, they're good with percentage. We call that one here relative frequency distribution. To find relative frequency distribution, which is your percentage, correct? What you do, you divide your class frequency by number of the sum of frequencies. How? Let me explain it in this table. If you add up this way, all these frequencies, 25 plus 10 gives you 35, 35 plus 1, 36, 36 plus 2 gives you 38, and 2 here gives you what? 40. That is actually the sum of this sign, sigma, Greek letter, means sum, correct? This is the sum of frequencies, which is 40, or in your book, maybe it shows as a n, the number of frequencies divide by n. Maybe some professors, maybe you had this class before, they say, okay, class frequency divide by n. Both of these formulas are the same, it has the same meaning. When you do this, you can find the frequency of your class in percentage, which we call it relative frequency. Let's do one of them, or all of them actually. First class. Your first class, your frequency was what? I choose 25 students in it. Yeah, 25. Correct? 25 divide by 40. Correct? Let's use our calculator. 25 divide by 40, it gives you 0.625. 0.625. Look, if you put this number here for your boss, okay, next column, I'll call it relative frequency. Correct? If you put here 0. What was the number? 625? 625. 625. Your boss, well, maybe your boss is not good with math. He will get mad on you. Like, what does 0.625 mean? I told you, give me in percentage, right? Change a decimal number. Changing a decimal number to percentages. What we do, we multiply our number by what? By 100. Correct? When you divide, always use 4 decimal places, please. Always 4 decimal places. 0.625 times 100 gives you 62.5, correct? Instead of writing this in this table, you can write 62.5, but we use the symbol of percentage. Oh, 62.5% of my students in my class, they are at age 25, at age 17 to 20, correct? Same way I can do the next class, correct? Next class is 10 divide by 40, which gives you 1/4, correct? And if you use again your fancy calculator that I told you to buy, correct? 1 divide by 4, it gives you 0.25, correct? 0.25. Moving the decimal here, it gives you 25%. If you multiply it by 100, right? Moving two decimal places, it gives you 25. It means 25% of my students, 25.00% of my students, they are at age 21 to 24 years old. Next one is 1. Next class. 1 divided by 40 gives me what? Look at here. 1 divided by 40 gives you 0.025, correct? 0.025 times 100, it gives you two decimal place to this side, 2.5%, correct? Here, 2.5%. Next one, 2 divided by 40, which gives you 1/20, correct? And again, if you use your, where my fancy calculator is gone, my calculator, if you divide 1 by 20, it gives you 0.05, correct? And if you multiply it by 100 to decimal place, it gives you 5%, correct? It means 5% of my class is between age 29 to 32. Here, of course, 0% because you have 0. Here, of course, 0%. Here, of course, again, you have 1, 2.5%, correct? Again, you have 1, 2.5%. Now, the question, if you add this column of percentage, it should gives you 100%, right? But sometimes it's not, because I told you that round up your number to 4 decimal places. For example, not in my example, unfortunately, if you divide two number and you end up with such a number, 2, 3, 2, 5, 5, 8, right? Round to 4 decimal place. Or to 3 decimal place, sorry, not 4, 3 decimal place, correct? When you do that, look, this number is 5. And you know the rule of rounding up. If it's 5, you add 1 here and remove the rest, right? It becomes 0.233. Because you are rounding up, when you go to percentage, there will be always a difference, not totally 100%. Sometimes we be a little bit off, less than 100%, or usually we are above 100%. Some of the students, they're asking me, how much, sir? Can I have 110%? No, 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 no. only the difference should be 1%, no more than 1%. If you add this column and it gives you more than 101%, it means you did a mistake somewhere. You have to redo everything. The difference should not, or we call it error. Your error should not be more than 1% when you find a relative frequency. Correct? One more, then I will stop. We are done with section 2.2. The last topic that we will cover here, and we will work with this table, is cumulative frequency distribution. Cumulative, let me write this way, frequency distribution. What is that? Adds, look, that's the meaning, adds sequential classes together. Too far to get there. I'll go back to the table. If I want to create another column here, let me erase these. If I want to create another column here, and I name this column cumulative frequency distribution, correct? Frequency distribution. I will start with my first class, which is 25. The frequency is 25. We are adding sequential classes together. 25 plus 10, which is next class, gives me 35. Next sequential is 1. 35 plus 1 gives you 36. Next one is 2. It gives you 38. Next one is 0. It means it gives you 38. Next one is 0. It gives you 38. Next one is 1. It gives you 39. Next one is 1. It gives you 40. You see this number and this number is the same? Always. This is what we call cumulative frequency distribution. In this lecture, you learn three things. How to create a frequency distribution table, how to count your frequencies, then how to find relative frequency, and how to find cumulative frequency in your table. I will stop the lecture here. See you all in section 2.3. There will be no 2.4. I canceled 2.4. It's not necessary to go one by one in your book. The topics that they are important, I will always do a lecture on it. Your last section for chapter 2 will be 2.3. I'll stop the lecture here and see you all in section 2.3.